anyway, I want to welcome all of you here today. My name is Sheila Lyons. I am the chair of the Barnstable County Commissioners, and I have the honor of kicking this day off, and we're all very excited about it. Anyone who has been dealing with our environment and our concerns about the environment and the wastewater issue here, 20 years ago, many people would say, what are you talking about? We don't have one, because we didn't know how we were going to finance that. And little by little, and very smart people here on Cape Cod working with the legislature, we've been able to figure out financing. But I think Barnstable County has always had the lead in bringing people together around the environment. It started with the Blue Ribbon Committee prior to my time, and I've been around a long time now, so it was probably early 2000s, trying to educate people that we had a water problem here and we had to deal with it, or we were going to not only destroy this beautiful, pristine, was once pristine environment, and also our tourism is our economy. So fortunately, we are here today, and it did take the, COVID did a lot of different things, good and bad, but what it did do was open up some money out of coffers, and a lot of our final steps here was enabled by the ARPA funds that we got through that time. So we were able to really sort of complete a dream, and that dream probably started with George Hoyfelder. That's when I came on, and this was just a little flat land out here that didn't smell too good, and but he loved it, and little by little we were able to put more into it with the partnership with our state and federal governments, and today we are now going to be kicking off the Barnstable County Clean Water Center, and this is hopefully number one, there's a recognition that we have been at this a long time. It's also a recognition that we are a leader in the nation in looking at this. And I think that we can maximize not only the benefit for ourselves, but for people across America, and now with the partnership of the Gates Foundation, hopefully around the world. So I'm very proud of the staff here. They've done an excellent job, and it shows by the partnerships that they have created. Today I want to thank Bryan Baumgartel and his team. I want to welcome Congressman Keating, State Senator Julian Cyr. I want to give my thanks to our entire state delegation. They've all had a hand in this, particularly the representatives from this area, Representative Zaros, Representative Vieira, and all of our delegation. And we'll be hearing from people from the Nature Conservancy, another partner we're proud to have, and from our Mass Tech, which is our really been our partner all the way through, and now our new partner from the Gates Foundation. So there's a lot of people here, as you can see, that will be saying things, and I will say no more, other than thank you, and thank you for the support to this effort. May we have great solutions that are economically based for all homeowners across the Cape, and on to urine diversion. So that is the word of the day. So thank you all, and it's my privilege to hand the mic over to Bryan, and he will kick us off. Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you so much. So in my private life, I'm a Cub Master for our local Cub Scout pack, and also with our troop, so I have to have the flag in the right place. Good afternoon, everyone. I actually prepared some remarks, which is not something I usually do, so this is going to be like story time for me. I read to my kids a lot, so hopefully this goes okay. Distinguished guests, dedicated public servants, community leaders, and fellow residents of Cape Cod, thank you for being here today. My name is Bryan Baumgartel. I'm the director of Barnstable County's Wastewater Division and the Clean Water Center. I will be your master of ceremonies for today. On Cape Cod, we are surrounded by a beauty that defines our home. The saltwater bays, the freshwater ponds, and the pristine beaches that are the heart of our community and our economy. But we are also here today because this precious resource faces a serious threat. For decades, we've known the challenge. Our unique sandy soil makes our waters, I'm the one. I'm the one. Holy smokes. All right, hold on. Here we go. That's perfect. That's perfect. I had it like all like on silence and everything. I swear. For decades, we've known our challenge. Our unique sandy soil makes our waters incredibly vulnerable to nutrient pollution from septic systems. This pollution seeps into our groundwater, feeding harmful algal blooms, closing shellfish beds, and jeopardizing the water we all cherish. It's a local story with global parallels, reminding us that environmental stewardship starts right here at home. But today is not about the problem, it is about the solution. Today we celebrate a monumental step forward. The opening of the Barnstable County Clean Water Center marks a new era of innovation and commitment. This center is more than a new building. It's a declaration that we will lead in solving our water quality challenges, creating local solutions with a global impact. Building on a 25-year legacy of research from the Massachusetts Alternative Septic System Test Center, this expanded facility will be our hub for innovation. Here we will develop the next generation of clean water technologies, solutions that will not only protect Cape Cod, but serve as a model for communities globally. This will be a center for education, professional training, and empowering homeowners to be part of the solution. This achievement was only possible through a shared vision. My heartfelt thanks to the Barnstable County Commissioners, our federal, state, and private funding partners, and the dedicated organizations who advocate tirelessly for our environment. I also really want to take a moment to thank my staff, who are mostly standing in the back room. Without them, none of this is possible. They are the hardest working group of people I have ever had the privilege of working with. Their dedication is an inspiration, and I'm excited for you to meet them all this afternoon as you take a tour. This center stands on the shoulders of giants. The original concept was famously sketched on a napkin by 4 visionaries who laid the groundwork for everything we see today. I'd like to ask them to stand and be recognized for their foresight and dedication. Joe Costa. Tony Millam. George Hoyfelder. And David Janik, who couldn't be with us today. The path to restoring our waters is long, a journey that communities across the globe walk with us. As Theodore Roosevelt once said, our first task is to leave this land even better for our descendants than it is for us. The work beginning within these walls is our commitment to that sacred trust. It will ripple out across Cape Cod and beyond, ensuring future generations can swim, fish, and flourish here just as we have. It is now my great pleasure and honor to introduce Congressman Bill Keating and invite him to the podium.
Thank you, Brian. And Cape Cod is unique. One of our demographics is we have an older population. And so when Sheila was talking about urine diversion, I just want to, for the record, this is not about prostate conditions or some of the difficulties some of us older people in Cape Cod share, but another imperative, and that's our wastewater issues. And I must tell you, this has been a priority of mine, a concern of mine for over 40 years. Back in the state legislative days, one of the earlier piece of legislation that I put in is the Mass Clean Water Act, which was to take phosphorus away from being introduced into our systems, our streams and our ponds. And so when I had the honor to represent this district and what had been going on before, what was going on presently, what will be going on in the future, it was serendipitous that I could have this honor to be part of this. We've introduced some of the people who dealt with this particular project in particular, but if you look back at this region on Clear, you could go back and look at some of the other landmark decisions and actions that we took here. I remember my predecessor, Bill Delahunt, Mark Forrest is here, was integral to that and is part of the commission, along with Ron and Sheila, to move forward on these issues. But the contamination issue and what they did to stop the introduction of those contaminants. And what this is so important with, I think, and it's something people should recognize and take pride in locally, from a statewide perspective, nationally, and indeed, because you've seen the introduction of funds from the Bill and Melinda Gates Fund internationally as well. This area has become the laboratory experiment for our region, for our state, for our nation, and internationally on dealing with these issues of wastewater. And they are critical issues. They're fundamental issues. You cannot have health the way most people deserve, to be free from contaminants, free of pollution, free of worry as they use their water in this area. It's important for our tourism as well as our economy here. And it's important for many reasons. The reason we're here is not just the leaders that were here that have been introduced, but also willing partners, number one. And we had not only individual leaders, we have scientific organizations here, we have universities clustered in our region here that are involved in this, but we're also here because it's an urgent necessity to this region. Look at the Conservation Law Foundation suit. Look at what we've had to do. Look at the lack of development that has been inhibited because of the lack of not dealing with wastewater issues. And look at the impending health issues that are here in our region too. So it's the willing partners, it's the resources, scientific and educational, and it's the necessity of what's here. And without the work of everyone in this room and the people that preceded us, and importantly, the people that will come after us because of this, we really have something to celebrate. This is a big deal here today, and people should recognize it. Wastewater may not sound that attractive. Having a ribbon cutting surrounding wastewater, you don't see any park behind you or any new building or any new housing. But without this, you wouldn't have any of those other things. And so that's why this is so foundational. And that's why it's so important. And we look back at some of the landmarks recently, the American Rescue funds, $1.3 million of that went to expand this center and go forward. And then the Foundation, because what's happening here will have international impact. And for everyone in this region, and I live just a few miles from here, we know there's a financial burden overtaking us as well. And a lot of people looking at the crossroads of this kind of wastewater issue with the ability to live in your own house is real. And what are we going to do about it? What's important about the research and the work that's going to be done here is affordability. They're looking at this from every aspect, from the equipment you could have in your own home, toilets that are modernized and deal in a certain way, and dealing with issues of how you handle it as a cluster within a community. And places like Provincetown, you can see how things are clustered and how that's the right approach to deal with it there. As alternatives to big, expensive sewerage treatment, the cost of which will drive some people in this area away from being able to afford their own homes. That's how fundamental this is. So it's an exciting day. Let's get excited about wastewater because we're doing something about it. And we should really be proud of the people and the regional leaders we have here. Our state delegation gets it. All the state legislators, the state reps have been mentioned, but Dylan is here and not here, but he's being represented here, and Julian's here to talk about the state senate, our administrations, and our prior administrations. This is a bipartisan issue. Dealing with wastewater is bipartisan. Yay. We all share it. So this really is a culmination of so many things. And I look at today, when you cut a ribbon, sometimes it really is a metaphor for finishing something off. I don't view today as just finishing something off. This is expanding into the future. And the solutions that are going to come from this center and what's here will drastically affect the basic cost of living and daily lives of people, not just in this region, but as someone that's on the Foreign Affairs Committee and knows the value of trying to deal with issues that fester into things that hit us back home, disease as well as some international violence and turmoil that comes back to haunt us here. Having these international solutions there to deal with this issue is critical as well. We are here not just helping ourselves and the affordability of living in our own house and our own region, but we're here helping the entire world globally come to some of these solutions. It's pretty exciting, and it's a lot to be proud of here. So I just want to congratulate everyone that's been a part of this. You really deserve credit, and I look forward to what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman, for the kind words, and frankly, I'm humbled. I'd like now to introduce Massachusetts State Senator Julian Sara.
Good morning, good afternoon. It's so good to be here with all of you, Congressman. With so much going on in our country and the world, to have you here speaks to the significance of clean water and these challenges, not just for Cape Codders, but this is a national issue, and I just really am deeply grateful for your partnership and your office. I also bring greetings from Senator Dylan Fernandez. We're in his district, not mine. He can't be with us today. He has a wedding, actually, this weekend, but Jack Richardson's here from his office. I see my colleague, Representative Steve Exaros. Steve, I don't know if this is your district or Dave's district or right on the lot. This is the part of the Cape where I'm like, all right, I don't know if I'm in Mashpee or Sandwich or Falmouth, but it's good to be here with Steve. And wastewater brings us together. Yeah, it sure does. Ship brings us together. And to be here with Commissioner Lyon Sheila, and also Commissioner Forrest, Commissioner Bergstrom. I see members of the Assembly here, Susan Warner, Elizabeth Harder. I see partners from all our communities. Doug Brown from the town of Falmouth. I see actually Jack Richardson, also a Falmouth Select Board member. Gordon Starr was here from the town of Barnstable. Now I'm going to get into trouble where I'm going to miss an official, and now I'm going to get in trouble. But this really speaks to the commitment of the region, right? And to have our county staff, Michael Dutton, your whole team, Bryan, your team here, and all of Barnstable County doing this work, really sort of buoys me up. And really, we have a 26-year history right here of pioneering, testing, research, development of novel solutions, not only to meet Barnstable County's wastewater problems, but the Commonwealth's and the country's. And so we're really celebrating this transition today, right? I remember the first time I visited this site, and I think I had thought it was going to be like a center, right? And I was like, oh, this is like, okay, this is like a field with like a gate, and there's like a lot of weird buildings, and like, where am I? But I think this really demonstrates the enormous progress that we've made on wastewater mitigation. And look, we have still so much to do, but I think this is really reflective of that, what we can all accomplish as Cape Codders when we come together, when we cross town lines, and when we work collaboratively on big regional problems. Wastewater has been a defining challenge for Cape Cod for decades, and frankly, we really kicked the can down the road on this issue. I have a friend in Harwich who dug up a letter that the federal government, I think, had sent the town of Harwich, and I don't know, probably around 1986, the year I was born. 70s. That was like, or the 70s maybe, right? Like 77. It was like, dear town, like, we will pay for like 90% of your like sewer system, and our towns turned that down. Mm-hmm. And we are, the real inheritance of, that decision and having to solve this. And we've kicked the can down on nitrogen pollution, on phosphorus pollution, for too long, and we've run out of road. And so this is why the work that we have done in the last several years here in this organization, in this legislative delegation, the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund, which I am so proud to have been the co-author of with former State Representative Sara, who is a legend on this issue and so much else, with collaboration from our entire legislative delegation, Democrats and Republicans, funding wastewater solutions regionally in a way that we never thought that we could. To date, the Cape Cod and Islands Water Protection Fund has delivered $309 million in other people's money, right? This is people paying for room nights here across Cape Cod to fund wastewater infrastructure projects using the Clean Water Trust's intended use plan. Congressman, I didn't know you were the author of that. That's a really cool connection. So already we have $1.16 billion in projects are in the ground today in Cape Cod. That is not hypothetical. That's actually happening. And it's expected that another $246 million in new projects will be listed on the 2026 IUP. By 2030, we expect that we'll have another $1.26 billion in projects underway on Cape Cod, with 25% of those costs subsidized by the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund, another 25% of the cost largely being subsidized by the state's Clean Water Trust. This is deeply significant. By 2030, by the end of the decade, we'll have $2.42 billion in projects funded by the SRF and the Cape and Islands Water Protection Fund with $500 million, not million, with $500 million in subsidies coming from the Cape Cod and Islands Water Protection Fund. When the fund was created, we never imagined that it would be this effective this quickly. And this is not just for pipes and pumps. Look to what the fund has done, Sheila, in your hometown in Wellfleet, right, around funding IA systems and funding upgrades to septic. So this is deeply significant, and it really pairs with efforts that the delegation has led as well. When Governor Healy came into office, she signed historic tax relief legislation that the legislature offered. Included in that was a tripling of the Title V septic tax credit. And what we did is we tweaked the language and we said, hey, look, if you're in a nitrogen-sensitive area, which is most of all of Cape Cod, and you are upgrading your septic system, that can also include an IA system, and that can also include a sewer hookup. And so we tripled that tax credit up to $18,000. So all of this has been part of a strategy around bringing serious dollars here to the region and really ensuring that year-round Cape Codders are not solely bearing the brunt of this in their property taxes and their sewer betterments and other hookup costs. So this is really essential, and really what the Clean Water Center is doing in particular is helping us figure out, especially the parts of Cape Cod that are not going to be put on a centralized sewer, how do we sort of solve this problem? That's especially key in my hometown of Truro. I mean, I have a running joke with my friends that we want to create a bumper sticker that says Sewer Truro to maybe poke fun at some of my NIMBY friends. But, the reality is places like Truro, Wellfleet, parts of Eastham, certainly parts of the Upper Cape here. I think of the north side of Barnstable. I just was at Sandy Neck this morning, right? These are places we're probably not going to put on a sewer, but with IA systems, with the technology that's being developed here today, we can really move forward in solving this problem. In an effective way, in an environmentally sensitive way, and also in a cost-effective way for Cape Codders who I think are struggling to make a life here now more than ever. It's incredible to have the Gates Foundation here, the Nature Conservancy, resources of Mass Technology Council as well, all coming together. So we're really stepping up. We're taking this issue head on. We're not kicking the can down the road. We should be deeply proud of that. Senator Fernandez and I have a citation. I don't know if do you want the citation now or later? We'll do the pomp and circumstance later, but Dylan and I have a citation for you folks, just really recognizing this momentous day, and I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to be here, the opportunity to represent this most special region of the Commonwealth in the Senate, and we look forward to tackling big challenges in a collaborative way. We'll keep at it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. It's funny that you mentioned you weren't sure if you were in Sandwich, Mashpee, or Barnstable, because water knows no boundaries. I'd like to now introduce David Lentz of the Gates Foundation.
Thank you very much. And I was outside earlier talking to people, and someone said, I wonder if there's any other facilities like this around, like in New England or Massachusetts. And one of the things I think everyone should realize here is the unique nature of what this facility is. There are 3 facilities in the country that you can, as a manufacturer, you can go and have the testing performed to certify your system to a national standard. And this is one of them. This is the largest facility of its type, and it's very unique from that perspective. Manufacturers come here to do R&D and to demonstrate that their system functions in the way that it should. So it's an amazing place. I came from industry to the Gates Foundation, and where I worked, there's a whole bunch of systems installed out there because it's an integral part of the on-site wastewater industry that serves single-family homes all over the nation. So it's a real privilege to be here today. I want to thank the MassTech staff, the officials that are here, everyone that's interested in pushing the science and technology of sanitation forward, not just for Cape Cod, but for communities across the country and across the globe. The Gates Foundation has spent nearly 15 years trying to advance sanitation and accelerate the innovation with really 2 principles. One is that these systems need to work in the absence of piped water, and they're safe and they're affordable. And then they also need to work and serve the 3.4 billion people in the world that have unsafe or inadequate sanitation. This work began when Bill Gates issued a challenge in 2011 called the Reinvented Toilet Challenge. And really what it was is a desire to have systems that helped the people, the billion people that use, at the time at least, that were using open defecation, both in urban areas and rural areas where sanitation systems were not adequate or were non-existent, to give them options. So a reinvented toilet comes in many different designs. There's no one single design. It's usually designed that serves the needs of the people where it is. But what it really needs, the intent is to give people an option that they don't have. And the end result is that it increases the public health. It also increases economic activity. The lack of sanitation particularly affects women and girls because they're in vulnerable positions when there's no sanitary facility. And so it really propels communities forward when sanitation exists. Today, open defecation affects about 350 million people globally. So this is a focus of many countries, is reducing open defecation. And we'd like to think that these programs have spurred programs that are improving this condition. But the consequences are severe. When you look at diarrhea, remains the #1 cause of death for children under 5 years old. And then in terms of infections, cholera, typhoid, and intestinal worm infections remain a major problem in areas where sanitation is challenged. We don't have similar type problems in the U.S. because we do a pretty good job managing human waste. We could be better, as we've heard from the speakers that were just up, and certainly improvements can be made. But in the U.S., we do a decent job at it, and hopefully this grant can help companies come here and continue forward with this progress. When we talk about sanitation challenges, people think about faraway places. The truth is, the United States is no exception. Think about Alabama, where raw wastewater flows into people's backyards. And other communities, coastal communities like Cape Cod, this is a problem that exists around the country. So new non-sewered sanitation systems are a technology that they're designed not only to safely treat human waste, but also remove nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen. Because when these compounds are in wastewater and they work their way into the environment, they cause oxygen depletion in surface water, they cause algal blooms, and as everyone who lives in the area knows, these are serious environmental challenges that need to be rectified. Also across the country, when you look at like Florida, this state, on a statewide basis, is trying to solve a massive nutrient problem that it has. Suffolk County, New York, is in the process of looking to replace 360,000 legacy cesspools with nitrogen-reducing technology. So this goes beyond Cape Cod. There are many places around the country with similar technology challenges, and reinvented toilets can be a solution to some of these problems. That's why this moment is so important. With this Gates Foundation grant, MassTC will become the first U.S.-based test center that has the capability to testing to a new international standards organization standard. It's called ISO 30500, and it's the non-sewered sanitation standard. And it's a step toward making the technology a real option for communities around the world. Reinvented toilet is not a new concept. Like I said, it goes back to 2011. There are systems installed throughout Africa as well as China and India, all areas that the Gates Foundation is focused on deploying the technology and helping people. So the tendency in environmental policies say, think globally, act locally. And what excites me about this challenge is that it flips the script. You can think locally here and have a global impact. And that's what the staff at MassTC and the county commissioners have decided here is we want to be part of a global solution. So the way that this concept works is by having reinvented toilet-derived designs available in high-income countries like the US, I'm also focused on France, then a number of systems that are being manufactured goes up, and then the cost per unit goes down, and that makes the technology more available for low and middle income countries, which is the ultimate target people that we want to benefit. So in closing, I'd like to say this, solving sanitation challenges is not just about pumps and pipes, it's about doing something on a local basis to change the way things are done. It's about resilience in the face of climate stress and aging infrastructure. It's about communities like this one, stepping forward with a mission-driven vision to make something change and make something happen. So thank you for letting the foundation be part of this journey. We're proud to collaborate with MassTC and Barnstable County. You're creating a model here on Cape Cod that can be reproduced elsewhere for a global benefit and also our country as well. And that's how we'll solve this crisis of sanitation is together. So my colleagues and I at the Gates Foundation look forward to what's before us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, water knows no boundaries. Those folks who lack access to sanitation, if you look globally, about 85% of wastewater produced in the world doesn't get treated, and a very large amount of that gets poured into the environment, aka our oceans, which surround Cape Cod. So a little fact for you to consider. Thank you for the global perspective, because I think sometimes here we may get a little too focused on our little slice of the world. So it's great to have someone come and remind us that we are a part of something much bigger. I'd now like to introduce Kristen Sari from the Nature Conservancy.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Sari, and I'm so pleased to join you today. I've just moved to Massachusetts from Maryland to become the new state director for TNC in Massachusetts. So it's great to be here at this event in particular. I want to offer a huge congratulations to our hosts as we celebrate this facility to support wastewater technology innovations, and that includes nature-based solutions, which is very important to the Nature Conservancy. As many people have said, it is really essential for us to reduce pollution in our coastal waters and to secure clean water for all. So at the TNC, we believe in a future with a livable climate, with thriving nature and healthy communities. And we're embracing this radical collaboration, as you kind of see it here today, with all the different people, and looking at practical solutions in the aim to confront climate change and the loss of biodiversity. It's through these strong partnerships around the globe that TNC is working to advance key priorities such as tackling climate change, protecting land, water, and oceans, and providing food and water sustainability. I joined TNC, as I mentioned, after an environmental career in Washington, D.C. And one of my roles there was working for the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, and it allowed me to work on ocean issues nationally. I'm also an avid scuba diver. So this is just a way to say that the health of the ocean is something that is incredibly important to me, whether we're talking in Cape Cod or close to my home now on the North Shore or around the globe. So TNC's plan for ocean conservation is expansive. We have a goal of conserving 10% of the world's oceans by 2030. And in Massachusetts, that includes improving management of nearly 6,000 acres of ocean and coastal habitat. So tomorrow's Saturday, let's put this in college football terms. And as a Michigan Wolverine, I think in college football terms, that's over 4,500 football fields. So a pretty significant amount of management. So to achieve this goal, we have to ensure that wastewater does not threaten the health and the quality of our marine waters. We were very proud to invest in a partnership with the Massachusetts Alternative Septic System Test Center and the Barnstable Clean Water Coalition, and to work with policymakers and communities to expand strategies to address problems like nitrogen pollution. TNC was also able to grant MassTC nearly $600,000 and provided both staff and contractual support towards creating the financial model to help municipalities make decisions around wastewater infrastructure planning. We prioritize this partnership because we know that clean water is a pillar of public health, and everyone on the Cape, whether you're a resident or a visitor, depends on the sole source aquifer that's beneath our feet, literally. That's why tackling nitrogen pollution from wastewater is essential to protecting the health and the quality of life for all of those that call this place home or hold it dear. So in addition to working on technology, TNC and partners are using nature-based solutions which harness Earth's natural features and systems such as wetlands, dunes, forests to treat wastewater. One really promising method is constructed wetlands, which are used to remove contaminants from nature. They're affordable, sustainable, and they're already making a difference. We've been talking a lot about international work. They're actually working a lot in India and in the Dominican Republic. In fact, in one city in India, they were able to restore 100 acres of wetlands in order to improve local water quality. And as we've mentioned, global work is so important, and as a global organization, we try to transfer the lessons that we learn to all the places where we work. And that was really important here. So in 2023, I think we all remember the devastating wildfires in Hawaii that devastated Lanai. We were able to work with colleagues in that area to help them understand how the structures and systems that we've worked on here in Massachusetts with MassTC could help them rebuild wastewater infrastructure in ways that support clean water, healthy coasts, and living communities. So we know wastewater pollution threatens vital ecosystems like mangroves, forests, and seagrass beds that help us store carbon. Climate change is making things worse, and there are overwhelming outdated wastewater treatment systems. But there is a better way. So by improving and addressing wastewater pollution and investing in innovative practices that divert waste into valuable resources, such as reclaimed water, biofuels, and fertilizers, we can protect nature and fight climate change. As we will see in action on the ground here today, this new facility is using nature-based solutions as an effective and important tool. So I'm very grateful to be here today to celebrate the work that's taking place and become part of this project, and look forward to continuing to work with you in the years to come to help keep our oceans and coasts safe for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And now I'd like to introduce James Burns from the Mass Technology Collaborative.
Thank you. Coming up last here, I will strive to eliminate redundancies and keep it brief. So the Mass Tech Collaborative is incredibly proud of the investment we've been able to contribute to this expansion. The Mass Tech Collaborative, we're one of the state's quasi-public economic development agencies. I specifically work for the Innovation Institute, and we are primarily focused on cluster development. So some of our previous work, which may be familiar to our entities like the Massachusetts Life Sciences Center, which is a standalone sister agency in the state, and that started as one person in the Innovation Institute. And then some of you might remember former Governor Deval Patrick announcing that as a $1 billion initiative. And now they have bigger offices and a bigger checkbook, so I'm not jealous at all. So we've also stood up a number of other divisions under the Mass Tech umbrella, such as the Center for Advanced Manufacturing and the Massachusetts Cybersecurity Center. And then more recently, coming out of the Healy administration's economic development bill, the Mass Leads Act, we've been tasked and are currently standing up initiatives in quantum computing, a statewide effort that's going to be centered in Western Massachusetts. We're expanding our efforts to support the robotics ecosystem here in the state. We're launching the state's artificial intelligence hub, and we are also implementing the state's version of the Tech Hub program. Some of you might remember the federal EDA offering. Coming out of that, we didn't win any, but we had a lot of great ideas. So the Healy administration was smart enough to say, hey, this is something we need to continue to pursue. In coming weeks, hopefully next month, there'll be quite a few announcements related to that program. And we're going to be standing up real centers of gravity and new clusters in regions across the Commonwealth. So that being said, one of the tools we use to kind of seed smaller clusters, such as maybe the water treatment cluster, is our Tech and Innovation Ecosystem program. And that's the program we were able to leverage for the expansion that we're contributing to here. And that opportunity came about when Mark Forrest picked me off after one of the Healy administration's listening sessions, and he said, hey, you need to know about the Mass TC. And it was an immediate and obvious opportunity. So a couple weeks later, I drove out to meet Bryan, and it was a miserable rainy day, but it was an incredibly bright opportunity. Anytime that the Mass Tech Collaborative is able to aggregate unique capabilities and create a center of gravity, that if it doesn't make people want to work in Massachusetts, it almost forces them to, because we're creating capabilities that don't exist elsewhere. And that's a powerful tool. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's when Mass Tech Collaborative is doing its job the best. But there's a lot of work that needs to still be done here on the Cape. So we are also, expanding our relationship with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, who is revamping their business development efforts, which is also going to lead to the development of a local supply chain. So we're going to create more companies and hopefully create more jobs here on the Cape. I'm also working with the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce right now to help identify other opportunities like this, these sometimes lesser known pockets of innovation and technology development that really need to be expanded and supported by the state. So that's all to say, the Innovation Institute and Mass Tech Collaborative are here to continue to support these types of cluster development projects. So if you've got ideas and are aware of other people like Bryan and his team who do great things here that could use a little support to really stop leaving potential on the table, we're here to help. So thank you.
Thank you so much, James, and thanks to all our speakers today. I'm just going to go off script briefly because I didn't really type anything up for this piece. I personally am a Theodore Roosevelt fan, and I just want to say thank you all for the investment that you've put into us, and thank you all for joining us today and showing your support for the work that we do. We are glad to do it, and to quote Theodore Roosevelt, of course, a man just wants to work hard at work worth doing, and that's what we do here. We work hard, very hard. In fact, those folks were out in the rain, all of them yesterday, getting this place ready for today. We love to work hard. We will continue to work hard because this is work worth doing. Right. Thank you so much. All right, so now we get to move out to the ribbon cutting ceremony. We have a number of ushers who will bring you outside. I'm going to call that our courtyard because it sounds really fancy. Really, it's a bunch of wood chips we spread in the last few days. We're going to do the ribbon cutting ceremony, and then we have some refreshments for you, and then after that we'll do tours. So thank you so much.
The Massachusetts Senate hereby extends congratulations to the Massachusetts Alternative Septic System Test Center, Barnstable County Clean Water Center, Sandwich, Massachusetts, in recognition of your ribbon cutting ceremony to celebrate your expanded facility and commitment to wastewater innovation, research, and education in our community. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success. That this citation be signed by the President of the Senate and attested a copy that was transmitted of the clerk, signed by Senate President Karen E. Spilka, attested to by Michael D. Hurley, Clerk of the Senate, and offered by Senator Julian Fernandez, Senator Julian Sear on this day, September 20th. All right.
All right, well, here is to water excellence in the future.
I'm a project assistant here at the test center, and I have, sort of worked my way into this focus on this field that we call ecological sanitation. So everything up here is about, management of our wastewater, management of our sanitation, effluent essentially. And so with our new building here, we decided that we should try to do, demonstrate the best practices with wastewater management that we could come up with. So basically what we've done here is we're managing our gray water, which is all the water from our sinks. We're managing our black water, which is all the water that goes down the toilets. And then we're also managing urine separately from those because of the potential value in recycling it as fertilizer. The other reason that we look at urine separately from all the other sort of wastewater streams is that it contains the most dense amount of nutrients in wastewater. If you look at a typical residential household, about 80% of the nitrogen enters in the form of urine. Urea is essentially a molecule that's high in nitrogen, and urea actually converts to ammonia, which is NH4 or NH3. So most of the nitrogen is coming in as urine, and about 50% of the phosphorus, which is important in freshwater bodies. So I'll describe what's happening here. So we have 4 sinks in the building. All those sinks, all the gray water from those sinks actually goes into this holding tank right under my feet. This is actually set up to just overflow and go to the wastewater treatment plant if we don't utilize that material. Gray water is water, it's mostly water. It has about 10% of the nutrients from the building in it. So while it's not the bulk load of nutrients, we still want to try to recycle that or process that and not just try to dispose of it to the environment. So the garden bed over behind you all over there with the pretty flowers growing in it, that's the first of 3 gray water treatment beds that we're installing in this area. So basically what's happening here is the gray water underneath me in this tank is going to be dosed into that garden bed. It's all going to happen subsurface, so there's no potential human exposure to the pathogens that could be in that gray water. Even though it's not connected to the toilets, we brush our teeth, we wash our hands. A lot of nasty stuff can go down sinks, including food scraps, which will sort of fester and smell really bad in there as well. So we're trying to demonstrate basically gray water recycling through that system.
Is that just a regular drip irrigation line?
Yep. Essentially, it's just 1-inch perforated pipes that are being pressure dosed into that system. So it's set to be like a wicking bed, we call it. So it's basically lined with an impervious liner about 2 feet down and filled with gravel up to the bottom of the soil. So the whole gravel area is saturated with gray water all the time. And then that will just have that contact with the soil, it'll wick up into the plant roots. So we expect that we'll get some good nutrient removal in there, but we're also just utilizing this water source rather than just throwing it away.
Is it like just a simple pump that will fill?
Just a simple pump on a timer. Yeah, it's just going to be on a timer. We actually don't have the pump in yet. We just built this bed this week. Okay. We're trying to hurry and get this area looking good for this event. But it's filled to capacity right now, especially after the rains we had yesterday. I watched it was overflowing, so it's filled to its max capacity. So that's the gray water piece. The black water from the toilets. So in the bathrooms, if you had a chance to use them, you'll notice the toilets are a little bit different. These are what we call vacuum flush toilets. So you do your business as usual, you close the toilet seat, and there's actually a button on the wall. When you hit that button, it kicks on a pump in this shed here that pumps, it basically sucks the material out of the toilet, similar to like an airplane bathroom. Not quite as vigorous as an airplane bathroom, but similar. Yeah, those ones are a little scary. Yeah, you want to shut the lid because it sucks it out. So what it does is it pulls the material out of the toilet. It does use a little bit of water. In this case, because we don't have a basement in this building, we had to be able to move the material from the toilets horizontally into the shed behind us where it's being processed. So it uses about 1/2 liter per flush. Basically what it does is it takes the toilet water, and distributes it on top of, or on the top of these 3 composting chambers that are in the shed behind me. You guys are welcome to walk in there and take a look at that. But basically what it does is it mixes that toilet wastewater with the wood chips, and ultimately over a period of probably years, it's going to compost down and produce a product that we can also use in our garden beds around the site. This is all approved through Mass DEP's Title V septic system wastewater management regulations. And basically what they say is that your composting chamber has to have at least a 2-year capacity, and that when you do a removal of the finished material, you have to bury it under 6 inches of compacted material. So go around, put it in your garden beds, and just put some material on top of it so that nobody's exposed to any potential lingering pathogens that way. So then the last piece of this is the urine separation piece. So there are 2 urinals in the bathroom. They are not connected to any water supply, so these are waterless urinals, which is not so uncommon. You see those in bathrooms all around public locations. But the difference here is that we're not letting the urine go away. We're capturing it under that tank over there. So that's another, similar to the gray water tank, 1,500 gallon concrete tank. The urine's being captured in there. As of now, I just looked last week, it's about half full maybe. So say 700 or 800 gallons of pee in there. And the plan with that, again, that's the majority of the nutrient content coming out of this building. The plan with that is to process it and make it into fertilizer. And then, of course, we don't want to spread more fertilizer on the landscape, because then that'll, sort of cause the same nutrient pollution problem over again. So the concept is that we can make this fertilizer product and distribute it to folks who are willing to use that instead of synthetic fertilizer products, so that we're, rather than bringing more and more fertilizer over the bridge every year, we can just recycle the nutrient content that's here on the Cape already. And this concept of recycling urine may sound new to some folks, maybe not this group, but this has been happening in Vermont for over 10 years now. There's a group up there, a nonprofit called the Rich Earth Institute, and they have been collecting urine from the whole community around Brattleboro, not the whole community, but they have something like 300 or 400 participants that are diverting urine and bringing it to the Rich Earth Institute, where they're actually processing it by pasteurizing, by freeze concentrating, and by carbon filtering. So they're effectively killing pathogens, concentrating it down to a smaller volume and a higher nutrient content, and then removing pharmaceuticals through the carbon filtration process. And so now currently in Massachusetts, we've made some advances towards being able to do that urine recycling scheme. And we now have 4 urine-derived fertilizer products approved in the state, one of which I have right here for an example. So there's this little packet here contains a powdered urine-derived fertilizer. It's called We Bloom, which is a very creative name. And so the other product is called You Grow, like urine grow, You Grow. And these are approved by the Massachusetts Department of Agriculture. So if you can get these products in the state, you can utilize this either on your farm or your gardens or your lawn or whatever. And you're, basically removing this material where it would otherwise be either disposed to the environment through a septic system or treated in a wastewater treatment plant. We're reducing the load going into the environment through those systems and coming up with a beneficial product in the process.
The work that is actually going to be done in the lab is going to be funded by the Gates Foundation for the most part. Right now, again, we only have about half this space, and we're doing a whole lot of bioanalysis. We're doing bacteriophage research, we're doing bacterial indicators, and we're doing that mostly research-based for the EPA. We also do a little bit of rapid analysis chemistry for our research and development clients. We work every day with the Barnstable County Lab. They receive our samples, and they do the certified analysis, and then we come in and we can support the technologists who maybe want an answer today about their nitrogen level or their BOD. And we hope to be able to expand those services as we move into this bigger building. The other really cool thing about this building, other than our great new spaces for both bio and chemistry, are these 3 smaller labs. And the idea here is that people in industry, university researchers can come and rent these spaces and do benchtop experimentation on the systems before they go out for actual testing, maybe at our site or in the field. Benchtop is a really key part of experimenting on septic systems, but sometimes it's really hard to get that benchtop stuff to translate to full-size systems. And we're hopeful that if they can do that work here and do it with real wastewater, because usually people who are doing benchtop stuff are using synthetic wastewater, that they'll have better results when they go to take it, to the next level of research and development. So that's one thing we're really, really excited about. We're planning to actually get them tapped wastewater into these labs so that it's sort of right at their fingertips. Probably forgetting some really cool stuff. I haven't talked at all about the Gates Foundation stuff. So the Gates Foundation project we're really, really excited about. Obviously, it's a big deal. This is going to be a capacity building project to look at non-sewered sanitation systems, or as David called them, reinvented toilets. It's been an initiative of the Gates Foundation for about 10 years to help solve those global sustainability wastewater goals. And now we get to actually help do those certifications, which is very, very exciting. The key to these systems, as David said, they don't have an inflow of water and they don't have like an outflow of water. So you're not connected to sewer and you do not have a septic system with these systems. It's all self-contained. It's got a front end, which is just your toilet, and then a back end. And the back end can really run the full gambit from like community level treatment all the way down to single household, the size of a washing machine for the treatment unit. And the idea is that, we already have a lot of, we have porta potties and privy toilets. These would be different in that what's coming out of them is treated to a very, very high level. There's almost no pathogens in what's coming out, both the solid and the water that is, being recirculated. Almost no pathogens and very, very little nutrients. So that's a big difference between what is available now from portable toilets and what, this system would be able to offer.
And what is the actual system?
So it's all different types of systems. So that's the cool thing. We're going to be doing a certification, and the first one that we're going to be testing is one of the bigger ones that I mentioned. It would be more for like a building, not for a single person's home. But there are those that are in under development that would be single family home technologies, and sort of like all over the board from there. Yeah.
Some may even be the size of like a washing machine that can go right into your house.
And some are the size of shipping container.
Right.
So.
Okay.
But these are different from the ones you're doing the test pilot on in Falmouth.
Well, for the urine diversion, yeah. So that it's funny, they are related. All of these systems, by nature, are urine diverting technologies because you're diverting the urine from the source water. But they basically do more than that. So urine diversion is like a very small part of eco-sanitation, and eco-sanitation is just the idea of closing that loop with the nutrients and the water, and making sure that everything is reusable and sustainable. And so again, urine diversion is like a way to do eco-sanitation, and so are these non-sewered sanitation systems. They're a different type of eco-sanitation that actually takes care of the urine and the feces.
This is something we need to continue to pursue.